He looked up at the sky, the ruined hollowed shell of reality, the nothing streaming through, the black hole growing all the time. There were only moments left. If he did not act now, the stars he loved would be gone forever. Every single world was going to die. He looked at the heart of the black hole, directly into the jaws of the wolf that eats the stars. "Nothing matters," whispered the darkness. "Nothing matters anymore." He fought it off with the memory of Bix's kiss, her warmth, her taste. How hard it was to leave now, at the very moment when he'd found it. They would never touch again, never talk again. He felt like he was losing a part of himself. A part? No, he was about to lose everything that made him who he was. This unique configuration of atoms was about to be snuffed away, burned away. What a useless, clumsy body, he thought, holding up his hands, staring at his fingers. I've always hated my body, but now I'm about to lose it. I don't want to let go. Far below, he could see the shattered ruins of the Sunfire, the strewn out trail of wreckage where they'd crashed. He'd loved that ship. He would have given anything to have it back, but now it was gone, and all that remained was this one last chance to save the people he loved by using every last part of his power. I don't want to die. I don't want to leave my friends. I want to live. But I'm the only one who can do this. He looked up at the sky, at the black hole, at the nothing, and now he felt it rise. At the centre of his being, a spark of power flared into life. Impossible energy surged through his body. His fingertips started to shine. And then the light poured out of him, scorching from his hands, his head, his heart. The light flared into flame, red hot, white hot, hotter still. And Lucky could smell something like sulphur filling his senses, overwhelming him with fire as his body burned. This time, he let it burn. He didn't try to stop the pain. He let it go all the way as he never had before. Far above, he could see the stars as they fell into the darkness. He stretched his arms up, reaching for the stars, sending all his energy into the sky. A great pillar of flame rose up from him, stronger than the fires in a nuclear furnace, bigger than the blast of 1 billion atom bombs, aimed directly at the black hole that was ripping the galaxy to pieces. And still the power was growing, growing, glowing brighter all the time. Lucky's hands felt raw. Searing pain ripped through his heart. It burned and blazed behind his eyes. Yet still he let the power rise, higher and higher, all focused on that black hole in the sky. But already, something inside him was beginning to buckle. His body was shaking. Shaking. The surface of his brain was boiling. His head was splitting under the strain, erupting, breaking open as arcs of blinding pain shot across his face, bigger and brighter than anybody could contain. His eyes were on fire. From his nose and mouth and ears, the fire was bleeding out, and it was killing him. Yet still he didn't try to stop it. Still he kept it coming, letting it rise and flare and flame, even though it was tearing him to pieces. The pain of his life being burned away, his mortality blazing. How much could there be left? Not much now, surely not much. He could hardly think straight anymore, but still he kept burning and blazing and reaching for the stars. But the pressure was too great. His body was beginning to melt, to come apart under the strain. He could feel himself disintegrating. This frail body of flesh and blood was falling apart, his heart failing, heart breaking. He felt his atoms fly apart at 1,000,000 miles an hour. His mortal life was gone. It was all spent, and now there was nothing left. It was not enough. It could never be enough. And as the flames consumed him, he understood that it was over. The nothing was stronger than he was. It always had been. For everything, everywhere, everyone ends. Lucky burned and burned and burned, down to the last ember. The smallest spark of light, that was all that was left of him. His mortal body was gone, all burned away. But now it was gone. Something new was growing around him. A new body, brighter than fire, lighter than air. The body of a star. And Lucky came into his power at last. He rose. He flew. Like a phoenix, he soared up into the sky, into space, into the stars and constellations. He rose higher and higher in his new weightless astral body, all the way to the wolf that eats the stars. As he reached it, the nothing whispered in his heart once more. What matters? It hissed as it surrounded him in the darkness. Nothing matters anymore. But Lucky's heart of starlight burned too bright to feel despair. You want to know what matters? He roared at the nothing. I'll tell you what matters. All of this, everything matters, and it always will. He couldn't destroy it. He knew that now. But there was another way. Not destruction, but creation. As he entered the heart of the black hole, as he became one with it, he let loose the power of creation, and with it he filled the void. He filled it with his own being, with everything that he knew, with all the feelings that he'd felt, all the places that he'd been, all the people that he'd met, all the stories that he'd seen, with everything that made him what he was. Lucky filled the void. And there in the darkness, that was the end of all things, he shone and shone and went on shining. With his light and life and power, he healed the rift in space. He stopped the nothing and sealed it up behind the sky. Looking down, he could see everything spread out below him. All of it was beautiful. And all of it alive. He could see the dark matter connections holding it together. Those swirling lines of silver light, like the view inside the astrolabe. Except now, those lines of silver light were coming from him. They were streaming out from the center of his being, radiating in every direction, illuminating the galaxy, spiraling to infinity. Space and time were all one to him now. He could see past, present and future, all at once, all together. And those who had died, and those that he'd lost, and those he'd been forced to leave behind, he was connected to them still. For everyone was connected. Everywhere was connected. Everything was connected. This was who he was now, and where he was meant to be. He had returned to the sky, as Gala had foreseen, for to be a star, he could be the boy no longer. But what she hadn't said was how it would feel to become all that he could be. He'd felt so homesick for so long. Now at last, he was home. He was flying high and free, higher than he'd ever been. Open space stretched out ahead of him, unboundaried, the living sky. He was going places he'd never seen, never even dreamed of seeing, and he was part of it. He was part of everything, and it was part of him. He danced in his new place in the sky. He was up and away and free, and they were all around him, as they'd always been. They welcomed him back with joyful waves of silver sound. He was singing, smiling, laughing, as he danced among the stars. I'm alive, he sang. I'm alive, I am home, and I am free. And I am free. And I am free. Wow. That's the end of chapter 39. One chapter left to go. That's quite emotional, really. It's a quite beautiful chapter. Yeah, sorry it took so long to make this video. My mind's a little bit blown by that chapter there. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments if you can. And chapter 40 will be out tomorrow, or even maybe later on tonight. And then we're going to restart There's a Boy in the Girls' Bathroom. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all still staying safe. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. And I miss you guys, and I hope to see you soon. But for now, this has been Mr. Y. It's Mr. Y Reads. Stay safe.